I went all in, and there was no plan B. And that's what I told everyone is there's no plan B. This has to work. If it doesn't, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Hi, I'm Courtney Sanders, and I'm the owner of Old South Insulation, and this is my story.
I had moved to Alabama with the intention of I was going to get into a blue collar because that was the easiest availability to access what I needed to, because I was going through a divorce and attorneys are very expensive. I worked for my parents, and it was completely different from, because I've been previously in the hospital aspect of things. And then I worked for my parents, and they said, well, if you can manage hospitals, you can manage mechanic shops. A guy that we had contracts with, and he said, welcome to the man's world, and he wouldn't shake my hand. So that was my introduction to like being like blue collar. I had about $65,000 in attorney fees. And I knew making the money that I was never gonna be able to catch up financially. And so I knew that I had to do something different. I had to get out of the industry that I was in, and I needed to get and do something. And so if you're in spray foam, you know that it's super hard. Like, there's nothing that anyone could have said to prepare me for how hard it is. But in my mind, I was like, okay, I can pull a hose, yeah. And people would say, you know, spraying all day and holding that hose is really heavy. And I was like, I can do that. What led me to the spray foam industry, I had never heard of it in my entire life. I had no clue. But my dad had bought a spray foam rig. So I just started researching, like, what is spray foam? All right, what's the profitability of spray foam? Like, what's the success of companies that are started in spray foam? And so I don't know if the internet lied, but I was like, oh shoot, that looks easy. Like, I think I can do it. I said, okay, well, I can make a business out of it. And my dad said, no, no, you can't. No, you're not. It's really, really hard. I don't want you to do that. My dad knows that if he tells me you can't, that I'm going to. After my research, I was like, yeah, for sure, I can do that because I'm crazy. And so I went and bought my rig with my own money, and then my dad later sold me his. That was kind of my thought process. I can reinvest into myself and believe in myself and take a gamble, and I could completely flop. I'm a person that has plan A, B, C, all the way down to Z. But this was, I went all in, and there was no plan B. And that's what I told everyone is, there's no plan B. This has to work. If it doesn't, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't have another trick up my sleeve. This has gotta work. I thought, if I don't have anyone else that works for me, I can do this by myself. And there were times that I was doing it by myself, and I don't have a generator on my trailer that's fixed. So just strength, being a woman, and having to push up a 500-pound generator like that. There was a time I was at one of the airfields, and I was like, okay, God, I've already tried twice, and it's pushed me back down the ramp. Like, I need you to send me some angels or something. Like, I can't do it. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. Like, just physical things that you don't think about. Like, that was so hard. I didn't have a husband. I didn't have a brother. I didn't have a man that could come and be like, oh yeah, I'll push this generator. It was me and grass and spray foam in the middle of a field. So I had to do it. I had no clue what I was doing. I would destroy mixing chambers with broke tips, and I didn't know the trick was heat it up a little bit and use the wire to pull it out. And so I went probably 6 months, and those mix chambers are like $250. So I remember there was one job that I broke 3 bits off. So at $250 a mix chamber, like, that was, I mean, it was expensive. There was a lot of very expensive mistakes that I made. But, you know, the biggest motivator for learning is hit it in your pocket. Whenever I would have those challenges, you know, it definitely hit my self-confidence. Like, what are you doing? Like, who do you think you are walking in here thinking that you're gonna be able to do this, that you're gonna be able to be successful? And then when I would be able to troubleshoot, like the first time I got a broken bit out of a mix chamber, nothing can tell you how good that feels. You're on top of the world, like when you overcome so that little bit of broken confidence is restored, and you're like, okay, I'm getting it. Like, okay, I'm gonna make it. Like, I can make it. This is gonna work. So every time confidence would be broken down, you'd have a little bit of a breakthrough and be like, okay, I'm coming back. I know specifically my lowest moment when I had the contract with Fort Rooker, and it called for 5 inches on the roof and 4 on the walls. And I was worried about making the foam look like butter. I wanted it to look smooth. And so if you keep going over something, eventually you're gonna make it smooth, is my thought. Before long, I had 8 inches on the wall, and they had to put drywall up. You're gonna have to cut that back, you're gonna have to shave that down, you're gonna have to flush it out with the studs. And I just stopped and I cried, and I was like, God, I never wanted to work like a man. This is awful. And I was just having like the worst emotional breakdown, because I was like, this is terrible. I didn't know anything about the safety of it. I just had on some regular old safety glasses, and the foam and the little pieces of it, it was flying out. I had it in my mouth. I probably still have residuals in my lungs right now. Even though I felt like a fraud, and even though I had no clue what I was doing, I had to, like, I couldn't stop. So all I could do was cry. Just cry, regroup, keep going, and go put a mask on. I am way tougher than I ever thought I would be. My favorite story is of Esther. And she's like, you know, all this terrible stuff's about to happen. And her uncle says, well, maybe for such a time as this, you were born. In the beginning, things were really tragic. For me, it was hard. But one thing that is very unique is I get asked every time I go on a job site, well, what got you into spray foam? I get to tell them, look, for such a time as this, God put me in a position, because I can tell you that this business is accredited to Him. Because my first job, I didn't have the right insurance. I didn't have the experience, and God has watched out for me. And anytime I feel like I'm like getting a little haughty or away, like He quickly draws me back in. He's like, all right, Courtney, remember where you came from, and this is not your business, this is mine. And so I know that as long as I give Him credit, like He is the reason why I'm here. Like, I have no prior experience. I didn't work in HVAC. I didn't do construction. I was wearing dresses in a hospital. Now I'll wear work boots and jeans and sweatshirts. There's a few people that were condescending. I mean, I had one guy who was like, yeah, I heard you got a little old business over there. That's precious. And I was like, would you say that to a man? No, you would not. But for the most part, they've been very helpful, respectful. Sometimes I still struggle with feeling like a fraud. I don't think that I'll ever feel like I've got this, because there's always like a curve. There's always going to be something, and it's important to continue to learn. But like after that first year, that was my goal. Like, if you can make it a year, and that first year was absolutely horrendous. It was terrible, but I made it. And after that first year, I was like, okay, I think that now, as long as I can just hone in, it's gonna work.